I asked Jesus a question no one else could answer. Does my mother forgive me? And what he told me broke me in ways success never could. This is the story of the night. I finally got my answer, not from a priest, not from a therapist, but from Jesus himself, in a prison cell at 2 a.m. By the end of this, you'll understand why her answer wasn't just yes or no. It was something I never saw coming, and it changed everything I thought I knew about forgiveness. But before I tell you what Jesus said, you need to understand what I did to my mother that haunted me for 12 years. My mother's name was Janice Combs. If you know anything about my story, you know she raised me alone in Harlem. My father was killed when I was 3. She worked 3 jobs, sometimes 4, to put me in Mount St. Michael Academy, to keep me out of the streets, to give me a chance. She believed in me when the world didn't even know my name. She prayed over me every single night. I remember her hands on my head, her voice steady, asking God protect me, to guide me, to make something out of me. And he did. By the mid-90s, I had built Bad Boy Records. I was on top of the world. Money, fame, power, everything I dreamed of as a kid in Harlem. But something happened to me when I got there. I changed. The kid who used to hold his mother's hand became a man who barely had time to call her back. Success does something to you. It makes you believe your own hype. It makes you think you did it all alone. And the people who sacrificed for you, the people who carried you when you couldn't walk, they start to feel like reminders of who you used to be. And you don't want to be reminded. You want to be the mogul, the king, the untouchable. So you push them away. And that's exactly what I did to my mother. I started missing family dinners. I'd send money instead of showing up. I'd see her name on my phone and let it go to voicemail. I told myself I was too busy building an empire. But the truth is I was running. Running from a boy who needed her. Running from the vulnerability. Running from the fact that no matter how big I got, she still saw me as Sean, her son, the kid who used to cry in her arms. And then came 2006, December. I remember the date because it was 3 days before Christmas. I flew back to New York for 48 hours between meetings. My mother wanted me to come to the house, spend time with family, be present. I showed up late, on my phone the whole time, distracted. She asked me to put away. I snapped. I don't even remember what triggered it. Maybe she said something about me not being around. Maybe she questioned a business decision. Maybe she just wanted her son back. But I exploded. I said things. Cruel things. Things I can still hear in my voice when it gets quiet. The worst thing I said, the thing that I see in her eyes every time I close mine, was this: I don't need you anymore. I built this myself. You don't understand my world. Just stay out of it. She didn't yell back. She didn't argue. She just looked at me, and I saw something break in her face. Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She just nodded, turned around, and walked into her room. I grabbed my keys and left, slammed the door behind me. I flew back to Paris the next morning. I was closing a deal with a European distributor. That deal felt more important than staying. 3 months later, I was in a meeting at a hotel in Paris when my phone started blowing up. My assistant finally interrupted. She said I needed to call home immediately. My mother had a heart attack. Massive. Sudden. No warning. I got on the first flight back, but by the time I landed in New York, she was gone. I walked into that hospital room and saw her body lying there. Cold. Still. I held her hand, and it didn't hold me back. I tried to say I'm sorry, but the words felt empty. She couldn't hear me. She was already with God. And the last real conversation we had was me telling her I didn't need her, that I built my life without her. I didn't just lose my mother that day. I lost a chance to make it right. I lost a chance to tell her the truth, that everything I had started with her sacrifice. I lost a chance to hear her say, "It's okay, baby. I forgive you." For years after that, I buried it. I didn't talk about it. I didn't even let myself think about it. I threw myself into work. More albums, more business ventures, more parties, more noise. Anything to drown out the silence where her voice used to be. I visited her grave on her birthday and on Christmas, but I could never speak when I was there. I'd just stand in front of the headstone with my hands in my pockets, feeling like a fraud. I tried praying a few times, but I didn't feel like I had the right. How do you talk to God when you couldn't even talk to your own mother? How do you ask for forgiveness when the person you need it from is gone? I thought if I became big enough, rich enough, successful enough, maybe the guilt would shrink. Maybe I could buy my way out of it, build something so massive that it would overshadow the shame. But it didn't work. The bigger I got, the heavier it became. It was like carrying a stone in my chest that grew every time someone called me a legend, every time someone said I was self-made, because I knew the truth. I wasn't self-made. My mother made me, and I thanked her by walking away. Then 2023 hit. That's when everything started falling apart publicly. Allegations, lawsuits, stories coming out. My name in headlines for all the wrong reasons. People I thought were loyal turned their backs. Businesses started distancing themselves. The empire I spent decades building started crumbling in real time. And for the first time in my adult life, I couldn't run. I couldn't work my way out of it. I couldn't buy my way out of it. I was forced to sit with myself. And let me tell you, that's the scariest place I've ever been. When the noise stops, when the distractions are gone, you're left with the truth. And my truth was ugly. I started having these dreams, more like nightmares. I'd see my mother in them. She'd be standing in a doorway, just looking at me, not angry, not sad, just waiting. And I'd try to go to her, try to speak, but my feet wouldn't move. My voice wouldn't come out, and she'd fade before I could reach her. I'd wake up sweating, heart pounding. Her face burned into my mind. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I was alone in my house in Los Angeles. 3 a.m, pacing the hallway like a crazy person. And I just started talking out loud to her. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, if you can hear me, I need to know. Do you forgive me? Can you even forgive me after what I said? Silence. Just the hum of the air conditioning, and my own pathetic voice echoing back to me. I felt insane, but I also felt desperate. I needed an answer. I needed to know that somewhere, somehow, she didn't hate me, that I wasn't carrying this stone for the rest of my life. But I didn't know how to get that answer. I didn't know where to find her. And then 6 months later, I found myself in the last place I ever thought I'd be, a federal detention center. June 2024. My lawyers told me to prepare for the worst. The charges were serious. Bail was denied. I was going to be held until trial. They walked me into a cell, 8 by 10 feet, cold concrete metal bed frame, a toilet with no seat, a window with bars that showed nothing but gray sky. The door slammed shut behind me, and I was alone, truly alone. No entourage, no security, no assistance. No music, no phone, just me and the consequences of my choices. The first few hours, I just sat on the edge of that bed, staring at the wall. My mind was racing, thinking about everything I lost, everything I was about to lose. My freedom, my reputation, my legacy. But then, as the sun went down and the lights in the cell dimmed to that sickly yellow glow, something shifted. I stopped thinking about what I was losing. And I started thinking about what I'd already lost. My mother, her voice, her forgiveness. And I realized something that broke me. I was more afraid of dying without knowing if she forgave me than I was of spending the rest of my life in prison. It was 2:37 in the morning. I know because I saw the clock on the wall outside my cell when the guard walked by. I couldn't sleep. I was lying on that metal bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to some guy a few cells down crying into his pillow. And I just started whispering, not to myself, to God, or to whoever was listening. Jesus, I said, if you're real, if you're actually there, if my mother is with you, I just need to know one thing. Does she forgive me? Can she even forgive me after what I did, after what I said? I don't need you to get me out of here. I don't need you to fix my reputation. I just need to know if my mother's heart is at peace when it comes to me, because mine isn't. And I don't know how to live the rest of my life not knowing. And then it happened. The temperature in the cell changed. I'm not talking about the air conditioner kicking in. I'm talking about a shift I felt in my bones. The air became thick, heavy, like I was underwater, but could still breathe. My chest tightened, but not in a panic way. In a way that felt like something was pressing into me, into the deepest part of me. And then I saw light, not from the window, not from the hallway, from the corner of the cell, a soft, golden light that didn't hurt my eyes but somehow filled the entire space. I sat up. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I was having a heart attack. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I just watched as that light grew, and in the center of it, I saw a figure. I couldn't see his face clearly. It was like trying to look at the sun, but softer. But I felt him. I felt a presence so overwhelming, so full of love and authority at the same time, that I knew exactly who it was. Jesus. I don't know if I said his name out loud or just in my mind, but the moment I recognized him, I collapsed off the bed onto my knees. I wasn't trying to be reverent. My legs just gave out. I was trembling, tears streaming down my face, and I couldn't stop them. And then he spoke. But it wasn't a voice like you and I are speaking. It was deeper than that. It was like words forming inside my soul, in a language I understood without hearing. And what he said, I wasn't ready for. I expected him to answer my question with a simple yes or no, but he didn't. Instead, he showed me something, a memory, one I had completely buried. I was 7 years old. I was in our apartment in Harlem. My mother had this music box. It was one of the only nice things she owned. It was wood, carved, with a ballerina inside that spun when you opened it. She told me never to touch it because it was from her mother, my grandmother, who passed when I was a baby. One day, I was playing in her room when she was at work, and I opened it. I wanted to see the ballerina spin, but I turned the key too hard, and something inside snapped. The ballerina stopped. The music stopped. I panicked. I closed it, put it back, and when my mother got home and saw it was broken, I lied. I told her the neighbor's kid, Marcus, came in and messed with it. I watched my mother's face fall. She didn't yell. She just held that music box and cried quietly. And I let her believe it was Marcus. I let another kid take the blame for something I did because I was too scared to tell the truth. A week later, she found out. I don't even remember how, but she did. I thought I was going to get the worst punishment of my life. I thought she'd never forgive me. But instead, she sat me down, got on her knees so we were eye to eye, and she said something I had forgotten until Jesus showed it to me. She said, Sean, I forgive you. That's what love does. It forgives before you even ask. You don't have to carry shame, baby. You just have to tell the truth and do better. When that memory ended, I was sobbing on the floor of that cell. And then Jesus spoke again. He said, she forgave you the moment you walked out that door in 2006. She forgave you before she took her last breath. That's who she was. That's the kind of love she carried. The question isn't if she forgives you. She already did. The question is, can you forgive yourself? I couldn't breathe. I couldn't process it. I spent 12 years thinking my mother died angry at me, disappointed in me, heartbroken because of me. But Jesus was telling me she had already let it go, that she forgave me the second I heard her, just like she did when I was 7, just like she did my entire life. But he wasn't done. He said one more thing that shattered me completely. She's not waiting for your apology, Sean. She's waiting for you to live the life she prayed for you to have, a life of truth, humility, and love. That's how you honor her now, not by punishing yourself, not by carrying guilt like a crown, but by becoming the man she saw in you when the world didn't. That's a forgiveness she wants you to accept. I don't know how long I stayed on that floor. The light faded, the presence lifted, and I was alone again in that cell. But I wasn't the same person. For the first time in 12 years, I felt my mother's arms around me. Not physically, but spiritually. I felt her love. I felt her peace. And I finally said the words I should have said a long time ago. Thank you, Mom. I'm sorry. I'll make you proud this time. Not by being famous. Not by being rich. But by being real. Everything changed after that night. I stopped fighting the consequences. I stopped trying to control the narrative. I started taking real accountability for my actions, not just in statements written by lawyers, but in my heart. I reached out to people I hurt and asked for forgiveness, not because I wanted something from them, but because I needed to be honest. I stopped trying to rebuild an empire and started trying to rebuild a soul. And let me tell you, that's harder work than anything I've ever done, but it's the only work that matters. Here's what I learned. Your mother, your father, your grandmother, whoever you lost before you could make it right, they're not in heaven holding grudges. You are. The people who truly loved us don't want us imprisoned by guilt. They want us free. They want us to live the life they prayed for us to live. And if you're listening to this right now and you're carrying the weight of words you can't take back, or moments you can't redo, or apologies you never got to say, I need you to hear this. The forgiveness might already be there. What's missing is you accepting it. What's missing is you forgiving yourself and letting that forgiveness change the way you live. I'm not telling you this from a mansion in Calabasas. I'm telling you this from a place of humility I never thought I'd reach. My life might never look the way it did. My name might never be cleared in the public eye. But my soul is lighter than it's been in decades. Because I finally accepted what my mother gave me a long time ago. Grace. And that grace came through Jesus in a prison cell at 2:37 in the morning. When that light faded and I was alone again, I wasn't really alone. I felt my mother. I felt God. I felt forgiven. And for the first time since 2006, I felt like I could breathe. If this story touched something in you, if you're carrying guilt you need to release, do something for me. Leave a comment. Say their name. Say I forgive myself. Let this be the moment. Let this be the night you stop punishing yourself for being human. Because that's what Jesus told me in that cell. Your mother forgave you because she loved you. Now love yourself enough to accept it. Next time, I'll tell you about the second thing Jesus showed me in that cell. Something about my future that I'm still trying to understand. Something about why I had to lose everything to find what really matters. But that's a story for another day. For now, just know this. Forgiveness is real. It's waiting for you. And sometimes the person you need it from the most has already given it. You just have to be brave enough to receive it.